Hi there, welcome back to another video on Stocks in Focus. Now, it's been a while since I did an episode on this particular series, but in today's video, we're going to talk about two recent companies that I've just invested in, and I'm also going to share with you one company that I'm personally looking out for. And if you watch it to the very end of this video, then you actually know what this company is that I'm referring to. Okay, so for the two companies that I've already invested in it, what I'll do is I'll walk you through the process so that throughout this whole video, you'll be able to pick up a thing or two. Hopefully, you'll be able to benefit from the process itself. And of course, if it benefits you, do apply it into your own investing journey. Okay, and if you can, also give this video a thumbs up and to share it out with your investing friends. Okay, so without further ado, I'll show you my screen, walk you through the process. What are the two companies that I've recently invested into, and more importantly, why I do it. Okay, and then after that, we'll look at one of the particular company that I'm personally interested to be investing in. Now, over here, I think it's important to understand the big picture, right? In terms of like economic cycle, okay, what are the things that you want to take note of? Okay, so I always start off with understanding the macro, the big picture, to kind of give me an understanding in terms of is the market being supported, which sector tends to perform a little bit better. Okay, so over here, this is the model that I'm using. Okay, so I've updated everything based on April. You do see the yield curve here is getting steeper, right? So what it's telling us right now is that we are in the phase, we're transiting between full recession in the economy towards an early recovery phase. Okay, and during this transition, this is where the, you can see over here, this is where the sector tends to perform a little bit better. Okay, so you do have the industrial sector, the basic industry, and of course the energy sector tends to perform a little bit better. And of course, if you're focusing on the US, it's important that you also understand where the fiscal policy is going to go. Okay, naturally it's going to go towards like manufacturing infrastructure, which generally is your industrial, basic industry, energy sector. Okay, so that's the big picture. So that builds up in terms of like why I'm personally invested into these two companies recently. Okay, so the first one here is Taiwan Semiconductor, okay, TSM ticker symbol, which deals a lot in the semiconductor space, like your chips, your electronic stuff. Okay, I'll share a little bit in detail as we progress. The other company that I've recently invested into about the same time here as well is Lockheed Martin, LMT. Okay, and of course this deals with aerospace and of course the US defense military side as well. Okay, so this two itself of course falls into like your basic industry, industrial, and these two companies, what I'm seeing here is that the fundamental tends to be supported by the fiscal policy. Okay, and sharing with you a little bit on TSM first. Okay, so what I do is before I invest in any company, I want to know what is the story behind it, which means that is there a macro trend, is there a catalyst that can push this particular sector or this particular company to grow its demand and therefore its earnings and revenue. So I want to know the story. The second part is I of course need to look into whether the fundamentals of this company is solid. Okay, which means is this company making money? Is it sustainable? Is it having some form of key advantage over their competitors? Okay, so usually that's what we call fundamental analysis, right? FA. And then from there, I also look into a little bit on the valuation. Okay, so I use a dividend discounted model because most of these companies here I'm looking at is to build up my dividend portfolio, right? So I do a little bit of valuation, and I also look into seasonality. Okay, which is based on historical patterns. Are there any specific period in which this particular stock tends to rally? Okay, so that's what we call seasonality. And the final part here, we look into the technicals to help me time my entry in terms of where is the best ideal price to get in and get involved. Okay, so that itself is what I call the investing precepts. Okay, and of course, if any of you would like to pick up this skill set, pick up this knowledge, I do have a course, right, put together over here. Just head over to www.investingprecepts.com, right? What I'll do, I'll drop the link below as well. Okay, so over here, of course, I want to show you exactly my portfolio over here. Okay, you can see here TSM. Okay, I've invested close to 2% of my capital into this particular stock. Okay, so far it's running about 6.6%, right? Pretty good in a very short period of time. I went in, I think, around end of March, right? So it's just very, very recent. The other one here, you can see LMT Lockheed Martin, also about 2% of my capital invested into this company. And right now it's riding about 5.8%. Okay, so again, what I want to share you this is again everything that I do. Okay, I focus on being practical. Okay, so even videos like that, I want to emphasize on practicality, not so much on the theory stuff. Okay, I feel that that's important, right? So you know, whatever we share with you in my channel, on my Facebook, in any form of medium, right? Whenever I share with you, those are instruments and those are the steps, the processes that I use myself personally to be invested into the market. Okay, and of course, if you're on eToro, you can check out my portfolio here as well. It's public. Okay, so I'll drop the link below in the description box as well in this video. Okay, so with that, okay, let me walk you through the fundamental scoring. Okay, so the story of TSM over here is basically, of course, we have the sector rotation coming in. We have the story of EVs, right? Electronics, vehicles, electric vehicles coming in. And I'm not talking just about Tesla, right? But if you take a look at some of the supercar brands, okay, like Lamborghini, you know, McLaren, even Ferrari, right? These are the supercars brands that are also coming into the EV space. Okay, so understanding the behind part, right, is that the end product here is the electric vehicle, but to generate or produce an electric vehicle, what generates all this is actually you need a lot of chips, right? And that's where the semiconductor story comes in. Okay, so from a macro perspective over here, I'm looking at there's a slightly in terms of demand and supply, right? There's a disparity now, okay, where the demand of these semiconductors are gonna be coming in, but supply might not be able to catch up with demand, right? And with that, then of course, companies over here like TSM is definitely gonna benefit from it. Okay, because there's a sudden surge in demand. Okay, so that's the story of it. And from a fundamental point of view, let me show you TSM scoring. Okay, over here you can see TSM scoring is FA score here is based on out of 21 is a max, right? So TSM actually in our model have a score of 20. Okay, so that's pretty solid, right? Because out of 21 it scores 20, okay, and it missed out just 1 point. Now, to me, anything that is like 18, 19, 20 out of 21, it's a very, very solid company from an FA fundamental point of view. Okay, now and then what I'll do is over here you can see this is the TSM stock card, right? I call it stock card. Okay, so you can see its beta over here is about 0.93, pretty solid, right? Which means that if today the volatility in the market is huge, at least if you're invested in TSM, you can expect a slightly lower volatility in your portfolio. Okay, it pays off annual dividend, which is good, right? Total is about $1.37. Okay, but one thing to note is, of course, over here based on the valuation is slightly overvalued at the current price. Okay, but to me, you know, valuation is just a guide, right? Doesn't mean that if it's overvalued, then you don't invest into it. Because if the fundamental is solid, the macro story is great, okay, then a stock can just keep being overvalued and the price keeps rallying, right? If you take a look at like Apple, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, they are always overvalued. Okay, so this is just a reference, a guide. Okay, so you know, I don't take it too much in terms of importance, but right now I know, okay, this is overvalued. Okay, now I also look at seasonality, so I can actually see here that based on historical pattern, based on the past 15 years, between 19th of March to 3rd of May, there's a high probability of about 73% that TSM will rally. Okay, so that's the reason why I'm also focusing on it, and I actually managed to enter late March based on technical. Okay, so this is the stock card to share me, like give me an understanding of why, what are some of the metrics and then why I'm looking at it, right? So I hope you guys can see from that. And over here you can see TSM. Okay, based on technical chart, I'm putting in a little bit of Elliott wave analysis into it as well, right? So I see that this correction here, which happens, you know, February, March period, that's where generally the entire stock market is correcting. And that to me is good news, right? Because whenever the market is correcting, that becomes a good opportunity for me to start looking out for investment opportunity, because I can get in at a much lower price, right? And based on technical here, of course, very simple. Okay, you can see over here, as price keeps coming down, we do have a divergence, which tells me that the momentum to the downside is slowing. Okay, and then what I'll do is just execute a simple breakout around $117, right? And that's where I got in on TSM over here. Okay, so if I show you my entry, okay, is at 117, right? So that's how I put together this story and then got involved in it. Okay, the other one here is Lockheed Martin. Okay, so very quickly, the story behind Lockheed Martin is more towards with the fiscal policy coming in from Biden's office. Okay, naturally, I know the US tends to spend quite a significant chunk of their budget into defense, right? And obviously, Lockheed Martin is going to get a pie of that budget, okay? And with that, that's the general macro story, okay? Not as solid as TSM, but still, that's the story, that's the catalyst that's kind of like giving me that conviction. And of course, over here, if you take a look at LMT score, okay, it's 17 out of 21, okay? Pretty decent as well, right? So it's a very solid company. Okay, if you look at the stock card over here, it pays off an annual dividend of 10.4. Okay, so that's not too bad. It pays off dividend as well. And of course, you can take a look at the valuation. Is telling me that right now is undervalued by about $160, right? So current price is around $371, and it's still undervalued by about $160. So that to me, it becomes a golden opportunity to actually invest into it. Number one, it's solid. Okay, so this company fundamental is great. Valuation here is super undervalued. Okay, so that brings me kind of like caught my attention on LMT. Okay, and if you take a look at the seasonality here as well, between 22nd of March to 23rd of April, there's a good 80% chance this stock actually rallied during this period. Okay, and that's the reason why I'm also starting to focus into LMT. Okay, and to show you the technical charts, again, a very solid decline. Okay, that's where the corrections comes in. Okay, over here, I'm actually looking more of like more data from a technical point of view, right? This low here was last year, March, where the COVID crisis hit. Okay, we have a V-shaped recovery, and of course, from there on, the entire remaining period was more of a consolidation. Okay, so from an Elliott wave point of view, this consolidation is great, right? I like this kind of pattern. Why? Because every time we see a combination of an impulse followed by another correction, we know there's a very high probability the next move is going to rally higher. Okay, and it's going to go lightly quite fast, right, relative to the correction itself. Okay, so from there, that's where I kind of caught up that, okay, this low here, it has that first push up, right? And then after that, it starts to do some form of correction. So I say, okay, if price were to break this high, $350, I'll be very interested to get involved in. Okay, and right now it's trading around like $370, right? We are up about $20. So pretty decent trade as well. Okay, let me show you over here LMT. Okay, so we got in about $350.60. Okay, which is somewhere around this white line, right? Exactly over there. So with this breakout, that's where we got involved in. Okay, so this two trade here, TSM and of course Lockheed Martin, is a long-term dividend play. I'm not trading this, I'm investing into them. But I want you to see that, investing is not just about looking at solid companies, good fundamentals, and then you just blindly invest, at any point in time, right? Yes, there are investors who do that. They don't really time the market. They just feel that, okay, if it's a solid company, fundamental is there, just invest into it. And then, if the price drop, and then they invest again. Now, nothing wrong with that, but if you imagine, you don't put in the time element and you just invest, and the market drops, and then you add in again, and then markets drop, okay, psychologically, it becomes difficult to handle, right? Because no one likes to look at the losing position. And you are also, wasting a lot of opportunity cost, right? Because imagine over here, if you got in at LMT, at the high, and then, every time it comes down, you're gonna suffer psychologically and emotionally, right? And why not, if today you're able to enter a much better price, why not, right? Who wouldn't want that? Okay, so that's the beauty of why we have that whole process, okay, why I use that whole process and not just like fundamental and then just blindly invest into it, okay. So the idea is, of course, if you are able to capitalize on fundamental, on technical, on seasonality, the question is why not, right? If you have all those resources, then that's even better, right? So I hope you see that. Okay, and over here, of course, I also want to share with you one particular company that I am looking at right now. Okay, and this company here is ABBV. Okay, let me look out for that over here, right? So the fundamental scoring of this company, again, is not that solid. It's 8 out of 21. Okay, so that's a concern to me. Okay, ABBV, ticker symbol. That's a concern to me. But, okay, hear me out first, okay? If you take a look at the stock card of this company, I'm very, very interested in it, right? Well, the fundamental is not strong. Okay, this company, I think some of you have probably heard of it. Okay, it's a pretty established company in the US. It's just that the fundamental doesn't look very strong. Okay, but I think you probably come across this company before, right? It's in the healthcare industry. You can see over here, healthcare sector. Industry here is, of course, biotechnology and drugs, okay? Now, what is the one thing that I'm super interested in this company here is its dividend, okay? It has solid dividend growth history, which means year on year, the dividend has been growing, okay? The general kind of like recent growth rate in this dividend is 22%. Very, very solid, okay? And the current price is 108 with an annual dividend of $5.20. Okay, so in terms of yield, solid. In terms of dividend growth, also solid. Okay, and based on the valuation model here, you can see it's super undervalued, right? Based on this model, based on this calculation here, the IV is at $759, and current price is trading at 109. So that is a good 6 times or 6.5 times, undervalued, right? That to me becomes like, this is the opportunity, keep an eye on it. And of course, if you take a look at the seasonality play between 25th of March to 16th of May, which we are in right now, right, more or less within this phase, there's 100% reliability based on the past 15 years. This stock actually rallied. Okay, and if you take a look at the technical, right, so again, we apply all this together, okay. It's solid, okay? The technical here is printing pretty nice as well. You can see the pattern. We talk about impulse, and then right now it's doing its consolidation. And every time I see this pattern here, there's a good chance it's continue going to rally, okay? So I'm even going to share with you in this video here what is the levels that I'm personally looking at to get involved in this solid dividend company. Okay, so I'm looking at 2 key levels over here. One is, of course, the breakout of this high. If price were to break out, and that would be my entry. Okay. The other, of course, is price coming down and does another correction to the downside, somewhere around $99.50. Okay, that would be another entry point for me to get involved in this particular company, ABBV. Okay, the only real, I would say, concern, or I would say the downside risk towards this particular investment is, number one, the fundamental of this company is not as strong as like TSM or even Lockheed Martin. Okay, the macro story here on ABBV might not be that strong compared to my conviction towards semiconductor and of course the fiscal policy side of things. Okay, so that's the only downside risk, but in terms of that, the dividend looks solid, the seasonality looks solid, the technical here looks solid as well. Okay, but of course, don't just blindly follow. Okay, don't just because I'm investing into this company, I'm looking to invest into it, and then therefore you also do it. I think it's very important that you need to understand the whole process of the investing, right? Check out whether it fits into your investment thesis, into your style, into your profile, and then if it is, right, great, right? And then I hope this particular video here is able to share with you the entire process so that you'll be able to witness and see why is all these pieces here so important. All right. So with that, okay, I really hope this video gives you some ideas, some insights into how we approach investing. Okay, and I'm pretty sure you actually benefited from it, right? I would really appreciate then for you to actually smash the like button, That will help my YouTube channel to grow. Okay, and of course, if you've yet to subscribe, make sure you subscribe to the channel so that whenever we do a video or even some live stream, you'll be the first one to be notified. Okay, and last thing here is let me know in the comments below what are some of the companies that you are looking out for or even personally invested into, and then if you have any questions, feel free to drop it into the comment section as well. I'll look through them and answer your questions accordingly as well. Okay, so with that, all the best to your investing journey as well. Okay, if you'd like to take it to the next level, make sure you check out the description text below. I have some links towards some of the courses or even some of the other videos that I did. Okay, one of it, of course, is Intel. Make sure you check it out. I think I did it sometime last year, and we are still holding on to Intel. The position is up by about 44%, and we are gonna hold on to it. Okay, but if you have yet to check out, make sure you check out that video so that you understand again this principles that I'm applying here are not just one time off, but it's really for every investment we apply the same steps, the same principles. So with that, all the best to your investing journey, and I'll see you guys again.